Hey folks, Steve Kemp, People Not Titles podcast. We're on Lincoln Avenue in the city, right outside of the Baird Warner office. Right there we go. Whoops. Where we are going to be interviewing in that room right there. A great realtor and once a Marine, always a Marine, John Lyons. I'm so excited to do it. It's a little bit of a cloudy day today, a little brisk, but we're bringing our own sunshine today and ready for a fantastic session. Let's go. Steve Kemp here with the People Not Titles podcast. So glad to have with us today Baird Warner agent and once a Marine, always a Marine, John Lyons. John, we're happy to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
So, John, as we talked, we're doing this special on just veterans in our industry, in the real estate industry, and you're one of the first people that came to mind. So let's get into it. So how did you get into the military? How did you join the Marines?
Yeah, I joined the Marines right out of high school.
Okay.
And I was a little lost, to be quite honest with you. I wasn't a good student.
Where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Indiana.
All right.
And really needed some guidance. And there was a person in my life that I met when I was about 10 years old. Is a good friend of my father's, who is a force recon Marine in Vietnam. And the reason why he made such a big impact on me, he had a terrific personality, really just incredible, just magnetized type person. And he had a lot of these scars on his face, and I asked him, I'm like, what is the scars about? And he's like, my dad said, well, Tom was a Marine. And then he started talking to me about that, and it just made a tremendous impact on me. So he had, he was just basically a war hero.
Wow.
Grenade blew up in his face, saved his platoon, so that type of thing. And, ever since then, I wanted to be a Marine, really. That's what it really came down to.
Since you were 10 years old, basically.
Yeah, 10 years old, yeah. So it's kind of like a childhood dream for me.
Okay.
And then, I needed to do something, after high school. My parents and my family tried to talk me out of it. Matter of fact, my mom and my whole side of my mother's family showed up at my signing to talk me out of joining the Marine Corps. So one of the negotiations.
So they cared about you, right?
Yeah, well, one of the negotiations was like, just don't join the, don't go in the infantry, is what they told me to do. So I fortunately tested really well, and I was assigned to a billet called cryptography or crypto tech. So the crypto tech in the Marine Corps, there's only like 128 of us. So that really opened up a lot of doors for me, so that's how I got into it. Yeah, so right out of high school.
What did that involve, the crypto tech?
So I had it was 3 months of electronics school for the Marine Corps in 29 Palms. It's basically like ITT tech. It's shoved into 3 months. So very rigorous, very challenging. I did almost flunk out. You can only fail once, and then the second time you're done, you go be a cook.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I got through that, and then you go to crypto school. In the Marine Corps, they don't have one. It's actually a part of the Army, and so there's like a 5-month course in Fort Gordon, Georgia, that you get sent to. So as a Marine and as an enlisted reservist, it's a very long training program, and it was great. The cool thing about the crypto tech is that you get a top secret clearance, and you didn't have any homework because you couldn't take anything in the building, you couldn't take anything out of the building, you couldn't talk about it when you got back to the barracks. So, pretty secure and pretty intense, I guess.
You have to be a trustworthy person.
Yeah, there's, you take, there's like a course, if you will, or a class on espionage, people actually selling these things to, foreign countries and going to jail for the rest of their life. So it's serious business. I mean, somebody lost a piece of crypto gear the size of my phone. The base in Fort Gordon, Georgia, which is 30,000 Army personnel, would be shut down. Nobody could leave or anything. So it's pretty intense stuff. But yeah, so I did that for 6 years. I was a reservist, And yeah, it really did. I mean, the Marine Corps changed my life. I mean, I am totally indebted to it because it just set me on the course of who I can become, and it made me realize what I'm capable of doing. And I really would promote it for any young adult that doesn't know what to do or has some type of interest in the military, and I always did. I always had a lot of interest in the military.
The seed was planted.
Oh yeah, when I was young, I was
always
all about it.
I
mean, all about it. I used to get magazines and all kinds. Ever since I was a little kid, I was all about it. So it was a dream for me, and I'm really proud that I did it. It was not easy. I was the skinniest guy in my platoon, so I was a double rats recruit.
Wow.
So I didn't get in. The first time I signed up,
skinny?
I was too skinny. I had to gain 10 pounds for me to actually go to boot camp. And then when I got to boot camp, I had to be on a special diet. Like, they have people that are heavy.
Yep.
They call them fat bodies.
Yep.
And then they have the double rats.
Wow.
Which they would give you double servings, and you had to eat it all.
Beef up.
Yeah, you had to beef up. And I gained the weight.
Yeah.
When I was boot camp, I looked a lot different. So
Did anything surprise you about your service that you wouldn't have known until you got there? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff, but anything that really marked you, like this was harder than I thought, or there were some times where I missed major events, life events, because I'm serving.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, when you're there, it's so funny. So my dad and Tom hadn't spoken a long time. The guy that influenced me in the Marine Corps. And so my mom found him while I was in boot camp. Now I hadn't spoke to the guy in probably 10 years.
Wow.
And so my mom reached out to him and said, "Hey, John joined the Marine Corps, by the way." And so he wrote me a letter in boot camp, right? So, and letters are like the most precious things in the world, right?
Yes.
And getting a letter from him was unbelievable. And he's like, "What the bleep did you do?" He's like, "You idiot!
Don't blame
Why
us
the
on me."
hell did you do this? I didn't expect you to do that."
Huh.
And then, so that was pretty funny. I laughed about it. Obviously, he was proud of me. And
Wow, John, that's so powerful that a guy that didn't have any awareness that he was influencing you when you were 10 years old. It just speaks to how we should be carrying ourselves now, even for young people that are looking at us or whatever.
Yeah, and actually, in remembering that conversation, I didn't know what a Marine was. So when my dad said Tom was a Marine, I'm like, "What the hell is a Marine?" I'm like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Yeah, tell me what a Marine was." And so he told me about it, and then he talked about, if he had, he talked about some of the things that he did. And total impact on me. And he gave me an EGA last time I think I saw him when I was 6th grade or something like that. I can still have it.
Wow.
So yeah, pretty cool guy, amazing guy. Yeah.
Okay, so what year did you get out of the Marines?
I got out 2000. So
Then you went to
just
Indiana,
before,
right?
just before the war. I mean, it's like literally I got out. I went to officer candidate school. So one of the things that the Marine Corps really made an impact on me. I did very well at it. So I graduated boot camp, obviously. I went to Marine Combat Training, which is a month. Every Marine goes to Marine Combat Training. And then I went to I went to electronic school, then I went to crypto school. So I was almost on active duty for almost a year, a very long time for an enlisted guy. And then I went back to my unit, and I got a billet as a corporal as a nuclear biological chemical worker NCO for my unit. So I went to a special school for that. So I got a certification to give my unit the gas chamber, which was like one of the the coolest job I ever. I mean, the crypto was cool, but you couldn't really do anything with it. So it was kind of like a hush. You can't talk about it very much, but. The NBC was super cool, and you have a lot of power too. So as an NBC NCO, and this is right after Desert Storm. So there's a storm. There's a lot of Scud missiles that came over. They were worried about CS gas, nerve agents, things like that. So it was a serious school, and you got to learn how downwind projections of fallout or gas or whatever it might be, and calculate it. And you obviously be in communication with your commander. So you were like the guy next to the guy in charge of everything if you were an NBC guy. So a very important billet.
And the trainees are going through this with their gear on, right?
So yeah, it was so this was just a secondary school. It was a couple weeks in Louisiana. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I did give the gas chamber to my unit, so I ordered CS gas, which was pretty wild. It was like in this crate, and when I got it, I was like, what the hell? It's like a big box, wooden crate. They pry it open with a crowbar, that type of thing, like you see like in the movies. And then in the center of it had this can, looked like a like a typical can. You can pop the lid off, and they had these pills in there. And those pills you actually put inside of a burner, and you burn those things, and they burn this gas. And so then the purpose of the gas chamber is to have confidence in your equipment that you can still fight. So if you're in a nuclear or most likely a nerve agent environment,
you can still battle. You
can still shoot. You can still have confidence in your mask. You're not going to be affected by the nerve agent. And so you go in this chamber and you shake, you do push-ups, side straddle hops, and then you take your mask off to experience that gas, which is not fun. And then you put your mask back on and you don and clear it so that you can feel as though that you realize this mask works. So it's all about confidence building. It's all about to make sure you realize that this thing is going to protect you. Have confidence in it so you can still fight. So I did that, so long story short is I went through the ranks quickly. I became a sergeant in 3 years. I became platoon sergeant in my unit. During the time of.
But John, how did that just happen? Is it? I mean, you rose above the ranks. Is it innate leadership that was inside? Is it something you just totally bought into? I mean. Yeah,
the Marine Corps just builds leaders. And that's one of the things that's very unique about the Marine Corps is it puts you in a leadership role, and you're there to rise to that level, right? And what I was getting at is that after I got through all my training, I got a job at this amazing facility called the Naval Air Warfare Center in Indianapolis, Indiana, with the training that I had in the Marine Corps, the electronics training was particularly. And I worked there for a year building wiring harnesses for bombs and missiles. So this facility is the only facility in the United States at that time that you were able to actually have from the drawings to the finished product without the explosives anywhere in the country. So you can build anything you want in that facility without explosives and without shipping it out. So it's a massive facility that was built back in, before World War II. And they have rows and rows of bombs, rows and rows of missiles. They have super clean rooms. They had crypto gear. They shoot on sight if you get past a certain point, like serious stuff. They had flight simulators.
You're still in the Marines now?
So I was in the reserves, yeah.
Oh, you're in the reserves.
Yeah, reserves, and I was working as a private individual, making a lot of money, haven't gone to college yet.
Wow.
And I was like, I was making some serious cash as a young kid. I was like 35 grand a year, and I was like in 1995.
Wow.
And it was just a lot of money to me. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me, you're gonna pay this money to me? And all I have to do is do the stuff. I gotta, solder, because you have to have a certification for soldering. And I did that for a year, which was a lot of fun. And then I just was going to school at night, and then I got into IU full time, and I left that and and I planned on being an officer. So that's where, long story short, is I wanted to be a pilot, and so went to IU and for the PLC program, the Platoon Leaders program for the Marine Corps, which is like ROTC. Marine Corps doesn't have ROTC, they have PLC. And so I went down to IU for PLC, and went in 96, I went to Officer Candidate School Juniors in Quantico, Virginia. And so at that time I was a platoon sergeant in my unit. I was a sergeant, okay? And this is when I realized I just got my butt handed to me. So I was the platoon sergeant in my unit. I was pretty confident in myself at that time. I was fit. And I went to PLC, and that handed me.
Wow.
It was tough. It was definitely tough. And I was like, do I want to go back to this again? So I graduated from PLC Juniors, and then basically by the time I graduated from Indiana University, I wanted to make money. I was already like, the Marine Corps kind of brain was kind of left, and my civilian brain was put in.
Yeah, you did your time.
And I did my time. Yeah. I'm like, do I want to go back to that? I already, my contract's up. I got my honorable discharge. Do I want to go back? And I decided not to. And really the reason why I didn't go back to, I try to think down the road. And what I thought is I wanted to have a family.
Yeah.
And I knew being on base, and seeing kids, and I'm not saying that you can't have a good family in the Marine Corps, but it's much harder to do.
Yeah, it has an element of difficulty to family life.
Definitely,
Yeah.
and I just didn't want to have a family in the military is what it was, and I wanted to have a family. I was already 26 years old.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would have to be a career Marine if I did do it, and I didn't want to spend a career in the Marine Corps. But yeah, so I got out and got my own discharge and moved on with my life. But I'm so thankful for what it gave me.
That's great, and,
Yeah.
and what an awesome run, and just it seems to me like there was a lot of stuff inside of you that the Marines brought out.
Yeah.
You know, it's less about what they gave you and more about what they brought out of you. You know.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, it definitely brought out a lot of me. I mean, it's really an amazing organization.
How soon after you got out did you meet your wife?
So it took a while.
Okay.
It took a while.
Okay.
I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
So I met my wife in 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was 10 years basically.
Yes, 8 years afterwards.
Okay.
8 years, yeah.
All right. So so then you got into sales, right, John? Or what'd you do?
Yeah,
What'd you do
yeah.
getting out of
So
Indiana?
I was, and the Marine Corps opened up a lot more doors for me. So I, through college, I worked through college. I was in the reserves.
Mhm.
I worked through college as a bartender, and my roommate's brother was a Army officer, captain, artillery officer for the Army, and he came out, over to party with us, so to speak. And was at the bar, and he basically said, you should get into medical device sales. And I'm like, that's a great idea.
Let's do it.
Yeah. He talked about, what the money you can make, and I didn't want to make some money. I wanted to be in sales. I didn't know what sales I wanted to be in. So that was my objective, and I worked for him for just a couple months, just under as like a junior guy. And then just to get the feel of it and realize I liked it, but I needed to cut my teeth in sales. So I got a job selling copiers, which is like the hardest job ever.
Yeah.
Which is the best job ever, though.
Cold calling.
Cold calling,
Yeah.
and it's like you really have to earn your job every single month. A lot of, to stay there for 2 years is like.
If you can sell a copy machine, you
Yeah.
can sell a lot of stuff. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
Yeah, so, which was like and the great thing about that job was because there was another Army guy that was there, that was my team, but we're still all friends. It was like a fraternity. It was so hard to stay alive in that job. I was the first one to get a job in the medical device field after that, so I got 2 years of excellent sales results, and then I got an amazing opportunity at this company called Brain Lab, which
You sold copiers for
2 years. Yeah, 2 years of Minolta Business Solutions, and then once I had 2 years of successful track record, Brain Lab, I got an opportunity to interview for them, and then I worked under the junior guy, the number one rep out of Chicago, and I worked for him for 6 months, got promoted to a full rep down in Missouri, and so I moved down to Missouri and I built up that territory, did it awesome, made a lot of money, it was great, and then they asked me to come back to Chicago. Then I got a better opportunity at this company called Imerys, which is even more expensive medical device technology, and worked there for 2 years, and I got let go, and I just was burnt, was fried, I was like, but I didn't do what I realized what I didn't want, and I didn't want to work for anybody, and so looked for a different.
You like the freedom that sales provided.
Yeah, but I didn't want to work for a corporation. I wanted to start my own business.
Okay.
Because I felt like I knew enough to be able to do it. Like a lot of times in middle management and corporate world, I feel like a lot of times they really don't know what they're doing. And
Yeah.
so I didn't have a lot of respect, and that was probably an ego thing that I had. And so basically I wanted to start my own business, and I looked at a lot of different things. I looked at restaurants. I looked at a lot of different, types of companies small companies I could buy into, but real estate was the least costly to get into. And it was the most transferable skills, so to speak, right? And so I just said, well, I'll try it. And so
where did you start?
I started at Prudential Root. So I got my license, and I jammed through it.
What year was that?
2013. Yeah.
So going back just really quick to Minolta, what was the success rate of a salesperson there?
So I probably, just the last year probably was like you had probably a 60-70% chance of not lasting a year. So you probably had 30-40%. Like the attrition rate was high, super high.
And if you were sitting down with a guy who's starting at Minolta right now, because there's a lot of young salespeople that wind up checking out this podcast. So what would you say to them? Like, hey, if to make it a year, you need these couple things.
Yeah, you just really need to be relentless and show up early and stay late and just have it in your mind that you have no alternative but to succeed. You really have to decide is what it is. And a lot of people decide not to, and that's why they don't bring in the sales or whatever it is. But you
or
really,
they wonder if they will, and it's totally up to them. They've absconded their responsibility to the ether.
Yeah, you have to commit to it, and if you commit to it, then you're able to do it, and you just have to be relentless. You got to every day pound the phone. That's what they used to say.
Yeah.
Pound the phone. Get on the phones. That was like a boiler. You do it. Yeah, you do it.
And there was probably an element of being able to hit set goals in the Marines and hit them that gave you the confidence to be able to go, I get it, I can do this mission here, you know, this is a walk in the park compared to the gas chamber and any of these other things I already endured.
Yeah, I mean, it's the confidence knowing that you can overcome a difficult challenge. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah. All right, so getting back to you got your license with Rubloff, and what year was that?
2013.
Okay, 13.
And so 2013, and it was an odd time too. Whenever you take a that's the other thing, when you change careers, first people think you're crazy, like I joined the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
You're out of your mind.
Yeah,
like,
trying to talk you out of it.
So, and then you're sitting there after you get your license, and you're staring at a computer, and you're in your cubicle or whatever. And you're like,
Did I make a
what am I
mistake?
doing?
Were they right?
And then nothing's happening, and
Yeah.
you're freaking out, and you can feel your skin start to boil. You know, it's like you have the anxiety. You know, I remember feeling like, what am I doing?
And you were married at this time.
Oh yeah, I was married, and it was
You
a
got-
total risk,
Yeah,
right?
you got a family.
And the recruiters are calling you like, "Hey, I got this opportunity."
Yeah,
for
guaranteed
you.
income.
Yeah,
come
yeah,
on
yeah,
over.
yeah. And then you're like, you're all these thoughts in your mind, and
Yeah.
challenges, like, or challenge your decision. 2013, I think March 2013, I started. I didn't really commit fully for like a month or so. I was figuring out how I was going to generate business. I'm not from Chicago. What am I going to do? How am I going to meet people? How am I going to convince them to work with me?
Yeah.
So I invested in Zillow. And the reason why I invested in Zillow, I had two properties. I owned the property in Chicago. I owned the property in St. Louis, right? So I lived in St. Louis when I was working Brain Lab. And I was renting that out. I rented it out for almost 8 years. Basically, I'm like, well, I remember I hired my agent through Zillow. And I thought, I'm like, let me look at that.
Yeah.
And that was during a time when Zillow was super cheap, was really cheap comparison to what it is now. Like now it's a big deal, and I don't spend the big spend. But then I was like $500 a month. I can invest and get these opportunities. I can convert. Maybe I can make some money.
Copiers. I've sold this. I've sold that. I can sell this.
Yeah. So I did it, and I was able to convert, and I started to bring in deals and. From June to December, I sold $3.5 million. So pretty good. Yeah, so
that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, so it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, and I basically during that time that I was starting to ramp up, I was like, I told the recruiters, I'm like, don't ever call me again.
Wow.
Yeah.
You cut the tie.
Yeah, I cut the tie because I needed to commit myself. You know.
Yeah.
I needed to be all in. You can't doubt it. If you do, then you're going to lose the momentum and the mindset and be able to focus on the goals that you want to accomplish.
Yeah, I sense that too, especially in sales. If you have another option, sales is just tough enough that you'll take the other option.
Yeah.
If you have another option. So when did you get started with Baird Warner?
I think it was in February 2014 I got started, and the reason why is because I did a P&L, and I didn't know what I didn't know. I get into real estate. I got my license. I literally read the book, took the test, and then I took the online class, and I got it. And I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And I just called the one sign that I remember of, and Prince Rubloff. So I went like, hey, so I like, okay, great, and it's okay, I'm here now. What do I do? And then so I did a P&L, and then I committed that I was this is my career now, and so I wanted to know, what are my options as I grow my business on increasing revenue. I realized, I think I paid like $32,000 or $35,000. I'm like, that's a lot of money. Like, is that normal? Like, I don't know. I don't know what I don't know, and like,
what am I getting for it?
Well, and I like, what am I getting for it? And so I didn't fully convinced with what they told me, so I said, well, I got to do my due diligence, right? You always should do your due diligence. And so I interviewed all the brokerages, and I chose Baird & Warner. First, I liked the managing broker a lot, and I liked their transparency on how it works. And that was what I'm like, okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I get it. It's not like a used car
It's
salesman.
not where's Waldo.
Yeah,
the
like, okay,
ball or the
maybe
hat.
I can do the, yeah. So I just appreciated that a lot, and I said, done.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's yeah, and I have to say, the relationship with the managing broker was very important, and then obviously the logic part of how I can continue to grow my business through compensation was what solidified the decision to move to Baird & Warner. Yeah.
All right, so John, there's a lot of people getting a real estate license. How do you, it goes beyond paying for Zillow leads, right? How do you distinguish yourself from the rest of the pack? How do you, why John Lyons?
Right. You really have to be able to understand the value that you bring to the marketplace. When you're first starting in real estate, you don't fully understand that.
Mm-hmm.
What you're doing is you want to read books, okay? You want to understand what the best are doing and how they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're just 10% of the top 1%, then you're doing pretty doggone good. You're going to be better than everybody else, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can maybe, mirror or model what these people are doing to provide value to the marketplace. And that's the most important thing you must understand. If you're new to real estate, or if you're new to entrepreneurship and you've only had a salary job, you have to understand, why would somebody work for you and what value do you give to them? And if you understand that value and the difference between what you provide and what everybody else provides, then you can easily secure the business, because it's easy for them to see it too. If you can articulate it, then they can see it as well. And people believe what they see, not what you say or what you might put in a video. You want to be able to show them the value that you provide.
John, I love that. But you got to see it first, right?
Yeah, you have to see it.
And then you know what the gap is between you and everybody else.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah. So what do I do? I think the first thing that I built with the business is a solid team, and the partners that you align with are so incredibly important to the success of the transaction and the outcome and experience that your client is going to receive. So it's very important to get the right people on board with you, because that's going to increase the enjoyment that person's going to want to work with you or is working with you. And then you just want to make sure you really have a lot of extra knowledge that the consumer doesn't know or have by looking on Zillow or Redfin or Truly or whatever it might be, or what their parents say or whatever it is. And you do that by experience. And it's no different from anything else in life. Repetition makes you more skillful. Repetition's the mother of skill. So you do things over and over again, you can get better and better at them. And the best thing I think a new agent can do is go to a lot of showings as much as they can, maybe follow somebody, see how they show property, or go to a lot of brokers' opens, talk to other agents, see how they act and what they say, and just try to rub off and read a lot of books, follow a lot of podcasts, listen to a lot of what these great people do, and I align with the things that resonate with your personality and what you think is going to be easy for you to convey to the customer. And I think that's probably the easiest way to mitigate that learning curve, because you don't want to make a lot of mistakes. The less mistakes you can make, the better off you're going to be in getting more of a profitable business.
That's great, John. The one thing that nobody else can be is you. And that really is the uniqueness. So I love the idea of listening for what resonates with you, so you could really be better at being you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about mentors. Have you had mentors in real estate that have taken you under the wing? How important has that been for you? Is it virtual podcasts, or is it real life mentorship?
Yeah, so I think first is real estate, now I'm drawing a blank. What is the, Dirk Zeller. You know who Dirk Zeller is?
No.
Yeah, Dirk Zeller wrote a book called The First Year in Real Estate, and it is an excellent book. He's also a coach, and he's got a coaching program, And the reason why I read that book, obviously, for the title,
Yeah.
but it talks about all the things you can think about, all the choices you can make, and really trying to figure out what works for you. And following what that person does online or whatever, or hiring them as a coach. And I did hire them as a coach.
How early on did you hire them?
My second year. So after 6 months, my 2014, I hired them. And that really helped me kind of establish a foundation. And what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to talk to them about solving the problems that are happening in your business. And there's only so many people you can talk to, right? You can't talk to the people in your office. You know, they don't care, okay? Another agent's not going to care. Your managing broker will care, so you want to talk to your managing broker, but it's also good to have a different perspective. Maybe somebody from a different marketplace that will be able to give you the experience that they have to solve the problem that you're currently trying to solve. So, so I hired them, and I guess I keep on bringing this up, reading books. Gary Keller's Your Millionaire Real Estate Agent, very, very powerful book. I highly recommend any agents in the business to read that. Because it has a lot of fundamentals about staying in touch with past clients and your sphere of influence. Very powerful stuff. And then Tom Ferry, obviously.
You do coaching right now?
I don't.
Okay.
Tom Ferry is, I hired Tom Ferry for a year, I think it was 2.5 years ago. That was very good too. And I always get something out of it. You know, you're probably ask yourself, why aren't you doing it right now? Well, I'm trying to find the right one for me right now. But
and at one point, there's a voice that works for you at a certain period of time that doesn't work anymore. You can't just stay. So I'm a big fan of getting that diversity of coaching and whatnot, and waiting for the next mojo on it.
Yeah, so I would say Tom Ferry, very powerful, and I've gotten a lot of solved a lot of really important problems when I was actually being coached by them. And then I hired, and I'm probably going to go back to them. Elite Real Estate Systems is a program out of Omaha, Nebraska. Their team is a huge, massive real estate team that has the systems down. And the key is when you grow a business, every time you go to a certain level, there's going to be new problems that you haven't experienced before, and being able to mitigate those, losses and trying to figure out the best way to approach those problems through coaching is the best way to do it. And my problem currently is bringing people on and hiring. So right now I'm in the midst of hiring an assistant, and those types of, and training these people so that they can embody what I embody and are aligned with my values, and want to be able to bring to the marketplace the things that made me successful. And so that's what I'm trying to solve right now.
That's awesome. John, I can't imagine any agent that is, getting started or anything, not just getting a whole ton out of that. How do you keep balance in your life? I know that you find time to run marathons. How do you do that? Because I know in sales, it's like, especially in real estate, you can work all the time. There's no time that, so how do you create those boundaries or those gates for yourself?
Yeah, so first I wake up very early.
Okay.
So I'll wake up at 4:15, 4:20 every morning.
Is there an actual bugle that blows in your house?
No, nothing like that. Actually, now this last 3 days, I just told my wife this morning, I haven't even need the alarm.
Wow.
Yeah, the alarm.
You're
I just
up and
wake
ready
up.
to roll.
Wake up.
I love it.
And then I go work out, and so that allows my mind to get primed up. I think the key is to start the motor. So because every day you wake up and you're like, especially when you're starting a business, because you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to get the momentum as fast as possible. Well, the momentum is, for me, now I'm saying this works for everybody, but me is waking up early. If I wake up early, then I get the motor running, and I start to solve the problems, and I understand the tasks that I need to do that day, and I can start planning it out so I can be more efficient. And that's the key, because work will fill the time that's allowed. Is the bottom line. It's a very fundamental principle. And so if you give yourself boundaries and you allow yourself to focus on certain time frames, then you should be able to accomplish it. But some people don't put those boundaries up, and it'll consume you.
Yeah.
It'll absolutely consume you. So.
You don't get in what happens, because I've been there before, where you feel like you've worked all day, but when you look back and you go, I think I put a good 3 hours, and I squeezed 3 hours of work into 12 hours I thought I was working, as opposed to just being regimented about it.
So and then in the evenings, it is always a tough thing. I try to take one day off in a week. It's definitely hard. But I take one day off.
And what is that, a weekday for you?
It's a weekend.
Okay.
It's a weekend. So either Saturday or Sunday.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm able to accomplish that is I have somebody that works with me. I have an agent that is a junior agent.
That covers you.
That covers me or whatever.
Yeah.
And we work together for that.
Okay.
And then I'm also disciplined to be able to schedule my time that way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm able to tell my clients like I'm booked that day, and I always tell them ahead of, if I have a buyer, I always tell them ahead, I need like 3 or 4 days just to prepare, and I'll block that time out for you, and then we'll make it happen, whatever you want to see for that day. So it's a lot of being able to have confidence in telling the clients, and the clients see the value in you, they're going to want to work with you. And if they don't do it, then they never want to work with you, and they're going to probably clients you want to work with anyway.
Yeah, people respect that you have boundaries, and people respect that you have a family most. So when did you start running marathons?
2006.
Okay.
2006, I was in St. Louis. I ran the Chicago Marathon.
Okay.
I lived in Lafayette Square, and there was a square. In Lafayette Square, there's this old historic neighborhood, and there's a park that's in the middle of it, and it's a mile round. And so I just ran that thing over and over again.
Training for the marathon?
Training for the marathon, yeah, and I did it, and it was a lot of fun. I'll never forget it, and I'm hooked.
Huh.
Chicago Marathon is the best, by the way. Like I said, I
Okay.
ran New York, I ran Boston, I qualified for Boston in
Wow.
2009.
Congratulations.
By 13 seconds, just by a smidge. And out of the majors in the United States, it's definitely the best. And it's the best organized, and it's the best. The spectators are the best.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's not the largest in New York, but it is one of the largest.
And how many times have you run the Chicago Marathon?
6, 7, something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So, John, we're wrapping up. So, I want to ask you a military question. I want to go back to it again, just keeping that theme alive. So, you work with a lot. You've seen a lot of veterans. You've been a part of is there any one aspect when someone says I'm in the military or I'm serving, is there anything that comes to mind of a trait that you think is most common amongst veterans?
Well, I mean, I think that it's just patriotism. I think is really what it is. It's the love. It's the love of your country.
Yeah.
And there is a true, undeniable love that I have in my heart for my country.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And so that you would literally die for it.
Yeah.
And no doubt, it's an amazing thing. So one thing the military does so well is it trains people to run towards bullets. Come on.
Yeah.
So you will run towards that bullet because you really realize what the value, and you have to understand, you have that perspective.
Yeah.
And you understand the value that this country has to the world.
Yeah.
And you also have the value that the organization that you represent is to not only our country, but to the world as well. So the Marine Corps does a tremendous job of indoctrinating people into that type of understanding and mindset and philosophy. And it's not brainwashing. It's actually having you realize more fully, what you are blessed with, right? In the USA. Yeah, I think so. And it's also in the Marine Corps particularly, it makes you realize who you are and what that title means. Mm-hmm. And when you have that title, that you have to have yourself at a certain standard. Mm-hmm. And not just that in the private world or how you conduct yourself, but also having the confidence to realize that Marines don't lose battles. Mm-hmm. We've never lost a battle. Mm-hmm. And they teach you the Marine Corps history and all the famous battles that we've been in, the tough spots that certain individuals or companies or platoons have been in, to be able to fight their way out. And this is why they have these names and these. It's almost like mythological, Mm-hmm. So, and when you know that and you see that and you learn that, then you feel invisible. You feel very special, and that's why the Marine Corps is so special.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why the Marines are the way they are, right?
Absolutely.
The Marines are a certain way because of that. Because of that.
Yeah,
and boot camp is a lot of history.
Yeah.
And did you know that?
No, I didn't. Yeah.
So in boot camp, you do a lot of classwork.
Mm.
So there's not all like going through the mud. Like boot camp is a lot of mental work.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing a lot of educating on history of the Marine Corps, battles, individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Daly,
Mm-hmm.
two Congressional Medal of Honors.
Yes.
Chesty Puller. You know,
Wow.
all these individuals that they teach you about and what they did in these very uncommon people among uncommon men.
Mm.
And so what they did in order for them to either live or to save their platoon or whatever it might be, and that makes you embody that. Yeah.
So it's impressive, John. So listen, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your service, just the inspiration that you provide for a guy like me that is always looking for role models in life. And so thank you. Thanks for your dedication to our industry and the professionalism you bring and the high level. You give real estate brokerage a great name every single day. So
I appreciate that.
for People Not Titles podcast, we're going to sign off with a big thanks to John Lyons. Thank you.